And so for us, the private sector, we can partner with the best in the world, right, to be able to solve problems, and not band-aid, but to structurally change so that it works for the generations to come, and not just for 3 months or 1 year. I think that's a major part of the president's thinking process, right? It's changed the structure. It's got to hurt a little bit so that the structure is changed for the long term. If it's easy, then the result is also easy, right? If it's hard, then the result is also more long term. And I think that's part of the excitement that we all have. It's doing things for the long term. Yeah. So again, like I always say, I think the Philippines is really going to be the next big thing in Asia. We are very excited to work with the government today, because we see that they really appreciate the private sector. I mean, digitalization, for example. The government cannot do digitalization alone. It needs the
accelerating societal.
COVID pandemic also hit the risk becoming failed states. Example of COVID-19 vaccines.
Don is there. We're seeing him now, no? Yeah, after lunch.
Responsibility, innovation, young groups. It is accelerating societal.
COVID pandemic also hit the risk becoming failed states. Example of COVID-19 vaccines.
On the global development of democracy.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, for me, the strong belief in the private sector, that combination is perfect, right? Because not only do you get the money, but the advice and the enthusiasm, right? When you have the private sector that is just so happy and so excited because you give them the time. He meets with us every 2 weeks with one sector that's already set up, gives us the respect, gives us the schedule 1 year in advance of all the meetings. Where do you get that, right? So when you have that dual type of respect for each other, it excites people. In the president's belief in the private sector is very strong. The amount of money we need is quite a large sum for the country to build the infrastructure projects that we want between the roads, the ports, the airports. So we're going to need a lot of the funds to come into the agriculture, right? So we're going to need a lot of the funds and the expertise from countries around the world, right? And so for us, the private sector, we can partner with the best in the world, right, to be able to solve problems, and not band-aid, but to structurally change so that it works for the generations to come, and not just for 3 months or 1 year. I think that's a major part of the president's thinking process, right? It's changed the structure. It's got to hurt a little bit so that the structure is changed for the long term. If it's easy, then the result is also easy, right? If it's hard, then the result is also more long term. And I think that's part of the excitement that we all have. It's doing things for the long term. Yeah. So again, like I always say, I think the Philippines is really going to be the next big thing in Asia. We are very excited to work with the government today, because we see that they really appreciate the private sector. I mean, digitalization, for example. The government cannot do digitalization alone. It needs the private sector, from the talent and the knowledge that we gain from all over the world, which is changing so fast. So yeah, that's my final message. I think that the private sector is very, very happy to work with this.
World Economic Forum was really organized so that businesses from all over the world can come together, along with government, as well as people from the academe. And I think in this particular, for this year, there's about 2,700 participants, 1,600 of which are from the business sector. I think this is the first time in almost 10 years, I believe, that we've actually participated. As you know, 7 of the largest corporations are actually part of this contingent. So I think that this is a very strong signal that the Philippines is open for business, and that we are, I think this is a good chance for us to showcase what the growth story of the Philippines as a country. I believe President Marcos has been very effective in showcasing the Philippines, our strength, but also showcasing that his government is open for business and open to partnerships, with other governments, but as well as with partnerships with private sector, and that we are here trying to bring in really foreign investments. On the political front, I think also my view is that the president has really shown that the Philippines is really a friend to all, and that we're not necessarily leaning more towards the west or the east, and that we're very, very balanced in where we are positioned. And I think that's the right strategy, because our location as a country is so strategic. We are right in the middle of Asia, and we are within a 4-hour flight distance to 70% of Asia. So that puts us in a very good, very important position, a very strong position for tourism, logistics, manufacturing. As for Alliance Global, as we're into real estate, we're into tourism as well, and more importantly, we have also global operations through our distilled spirits company. We have operations in the UK, we have operations in Spain, and we have operations as well in Mexico. And so, in a way, we are a Filipino company with a very strong global presence. And I think this forum is very important for a company like ours. I think there's a lot of meetings on the sidelines. There's a lot of things you can learn, but also partnerships and cooperation that can be created from this particular platform. Like I said, on another note, I think the Philippines as well, we are very strongly invested in tourism. And so, it's a way for us to also promote the Philippines. I think that this, again, we're very excited to join President Marcos. This trip and this journey for the Philippines. It's after 2 years of this pandemic, as he has said, we've kind of taken a step back. But I guess in that process, there's so much realization. But what is needed really is global cooperation. I think that our president is a firm believer in globalization. Coming to the World Economic Forum, I think that his belief can be made known to a large audience, and that I think will give the Philippines a lot of credibility in the global community.
So allow me to anchor my message on the 5 highly relevant themes that the WEF has identified in our gathering for this year. On addressing the current high inflation, low growth, high debt economy in the context of new systems for investment, trade, and infrastructure. Well, according to IMF, projection for global economic growth in 2023 is a rather low 2.7%, slower than the 3.2% in 22, which is already a significant decrease from 6% in 2021. In the Philippines, the picture is slightly different, and we project our economy to grow by around 7% in 2023. Our actual projection is 6.5, but there are signs that we might be able to surpass that. Our strong macroeconomic fundamentals, fiscal discipline, structural reforms, and liberalization of key sectors instituted over the years have enabled us to withstand the negative shocks caused by the pandemic. The Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act, or CREATE Act, provided much needed relief for our micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, through a reduction in the corporate income tax rate and ending investor uncertainty. Amendments to the implementing rules and regulations of the Build, Operate, Transfer law will allow the government to leverage public-private partnerships and better direct resources to other critical areas of development, governance, including social protection measures. The government also recognizes the importance of digitalization as a key driver for long-term for the long-term development and for our economic transformation to the post-pandemic global economy. Finally, on addressing the current social vulnerabilities in the context of a new system for work skills and care, of MSMEs is the central theme of this administration's digitalization efforts. We aim to empower and enable MSMEs to participate in the digital economy and thus significantly narrow the digital divide. Finally, on addressing the current social vulnerabilities in the context of a new system for work, skills, and care, given the lingering impact of the pandemic and the accelerated changes in the landscape of work, we underscore the importance of education, skills development, lifelong learning to enhance the employability of workers, strengthening government interventions and public-private partnerships to improve access to employment opportunities, improving health systems and social protection to abate and mitigate present and future risks. And I'm proud to say is now considered as a model in the developing world, will spare the lives and livelihoods of our people. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, it has been my privilege to provide you with an overview of the state of our economy and the myriad opportunities awaiting to be unlocked. If there is one thing I want you to take away from all these, it is that we have demonstrated and will continue to demonstrate our openness to work with partners and stakeholders to effect mutually beneficial relationships so as to arrive at our goal towards a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future for the Philippines and for Filipinos. Thank you very much. Mabuhay.